Imagine that you're about to share a double popsicle with a friend. You each grab hold of a different end and pull, and hopefully it splits right down the middle, leaving each of you with one single popsicle to enjoy. Now, something very similar happens in a cell that is about to divide. At this point in time, its chromosome consists of two identical copies, and each of these copies get pulled towards opposite ends of the cell. This ensures that when the mother cell divides right down the middle, each of its daughters ends up with exactly one copy of every single chromosome. Sometimes, though, errors occur with both copies of a given chromosome being pulled towards the same side of the cell. Now, if the cell were to divide right now, one of its daughters would end up with an extra copy of this chromosome, the other daughter with no copies at all. This is a potentially catastrophic condition called aneuploidy, which could lead to cancer, which could lead to certain debilitating birth defects. Fortunately for us, though, our cells can actually detect when such an error happens and can take steps to correct it before there is any lasting damage. But the open and an important question remains is how do those cells detect these errors in the first place? And this is the question that I'm trying to answer through my thesis project. Now, the problem isn't trivial. While you and I can look at this picture and know that both copies are being pulled towards the same side of the cell because we can see it, remember that the cell itself doesn't have eyes, it doesn't have a brain, and it doesn't have this bird's eye view of itself that you and I can have. So how does it do it? The answer, I believe, lies in forces, and more specifically, the forces that these chromosomes feel as these two copies are being pulled away from each other. Now, these forces would be much greater if the copies were being pulled towards opposite ends of the cell than if they were being pulled towards the same side. What I hypothesize is that these cells can actually feel the magnitude of these forces and know that an error has occurred when this force is lower than what it normally should be. Now, to test this hypothesis, I'm using an assay which allows me to actually measure these forces inside of live cells, an all-important first step in beginning to explore their role and something that has never been done before. What I find is that if I experimentally reduce these forces, these cells can feel it and react by slowing down how fast they divide in a very specific manner, something that they would do only if they detect an error and need time to correct it. More excitingly, the further I reduce these forces, the slower the cell division process becomes, as these cells start thinking they're accumulating more and more errors. Taken together, this provides very strong evidence to support the notion that in order to detect these errors while dividing, cells must feel the force. And this provides a very strong platform for me in going forward in trying to understand exactly how these forces are being felt and how this information is used to keep us alive and healthy. Thank you.